Welcome to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba, your host today. Thanks for joining us. All right, our first guest today is Norm Winski, editor and publisher of Astro-Trend's Market Timing. Norm, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Michael. Great to have you back on board there, on the air there, and excited for you and excited to be on your show.
All right, my pleasure. Thanks for being here. You've got well over 40 years in the industry. You started off on the floor of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And then
the Chicago Board Options Exchange.
Excuse me, right, a predecessor.
And also the Chicago Board of Trade.
Well, tell us about your beginnings so that everybody gets a flavor for who you are, what you do, and then let's get into the talking points that we have for today's show.
Okay, well, I started to study the stock market when I was only 15, and then I continued that into my college days and started investing while I was in college and making money. I was in college during the 73, 74 bear market, and I was making money buying copper mining because my cycle said copper was going up, and the copper went to all-time new highs, and I was making very serious money while I was in college. And then that increased I had a small inheritance from a relative, and I increased my little pile there, my little nest egg, and then I ended up kind of stumbling on buying a membership on the new Chicago Board Options Exchange, which just opened their doors in 1973. I ended up landing there when I graduated from college in early 75. And then I was a market maker on the floor there and, trade my own money for 12 years. And I also did a little side stint at the Chicago Board of Trade, which we were in that building because the CBOE was founded by the Board of Trade people.
When did you start Astro-Trend Market Timing?
Oh, that was while I was on the CBOE floor about fall, coming up on my 39th anniversary, Halloween of 1978. I started a couple of my fellow floor traders had probably watched me trade and were impressed and said, "Oh, would you be willing to share your market timing with us?" And I said, "Okay, well, pay me so much," and so they did. And so then one day I just was doing it though. I had no intention of starting a market letter. I just thought, well, I'll just tell them my magic times for the day, my turning points for the time for the day, and maybe I'll have 3 or 4 times, and then that'll be it. And I won't have to bother doing anything, writing it down and creating a letter or anything like that. And so one day, I met with one of the traders before my client before the opening, and I guess it was kind of a busy day from the cycle's point of view, and I gave him like 4 or 5 times. And he said, "I can't remember all that. Write it down." And so that's how it was born, because then I had to start writing it all down, and that's when the letter got launched right around, I think, Halloween of 1978.
Now, let the audience in, because not only do you pick cyclical dates on a monthly basis, and you've got them going out in time, what are potential turning or acceleration points throughout the month, but you also break it down on a daily basis as to what minute of the day is the most likely turning point or acceleration point for a multitude of markets, right?
That's correct. I have intraday timing. Mostly use that for the stock market. For example, today, if you're trading S&P or S&P E-mini futures, we made a high today at 12:18 Eastern Time, and at that moment, the heliocentric from the point of view of the sun, Mercury was entering a new sign, Libra, right at 12:18, and that's when the market topped.
All right, so you've got it down to the minute. You've been doing it for a long time. What are your current cycles moving forward that you think are important that the audience needs to know about?
Okay, I got some big cycles here indicating possible changes in trend for the stocks, T-bonds, and U.S. dollar. Of course, tomorrow afternoon, we have a full moon. If your folks are skeptical about what I'm telling them, all they have to do is take 10 minutes, go look up the new moons and full moons, and you will find and look at the markets, and you will find that these markets often turn at a new moon or full moon. A great example of that, a very clear example of that, back in August, we had a full moon lunar eclipse on the 7th. The next day, the market topped, and we went down all the way till the new moon solar eclipse on the 21st, and that was the low of the month, and the previous date I gave you was the high of the month. So it doesn't get any clearer than that, and they're not always that clear, but it's very, very good, very, very good, very helpful.
Allows you to pay attention at certain times of the day. Now, you've got 2:40 p.m. Eastern,
right, for
the moon to potentially have an effect on, what is it, financials, grains, and precious metals?
That's correct. So we have many markets turn on the full moon, and those are the main groups, financials, grains, and precious metals. So you want to watch those groups within a day. It doesn't have to be to the minute. It could be a few hours off, but sometime right around the full moon, you're going to get, and especially if a market is in an extreme position. In other words, it's very overbought, very oversold. I think the stock market, I don't think too many people would disagree. The stock market is probably very overbought now. It's been going up, 7 days in a row now? And so that's an extreme position. And so I think the stock market is ripe for some kind of top, maybe a short-term top, maybe a bigger top within the next day. So probably by tomorrow, if not already,
Okay, then you've got something coming up, a couple of things coming up on the 6th.
Then I have a huge cluster of things toward the end of the week here, Friday over the weekend, with, we have copper, we have oil. I have 2 things indicating those markets. We have also Mars, a 2-year cycle, gets to its farthest point as it goes around the sun. That's called aphelion. And that's associated with metals, and also the stock market. So watch for that. And let's see, moving ahead here now, I've got some notes here that I sent you some key dates for the stock market. I marked on there that I thought that 25, 45 on a short-term basis should be the extreme top of the S&P in the next day or so. That's a kind of a top of a channel there.
How'd you come up with that number, Norm?
I just look at the chart I sent you there, and you see the trend lines all converge right around that level there,
Okay, so it's converging trend lines. It's not any kind of other market math that you're using.
No, and I also have a market math that's kind of like, I was a student of W.D. Gans, and he liked square numbers. For example, we have on the 6th, 3,136 days. That's 56 squared from the March 6, 2009 major low. And then I do Fibonacci time cycles. That also points to the 6th, and we also have huge astro cycles all coming out for the 6th to the 9th. So we have a big cluster there all in the next couple of days.
Okay, so a potential top or acceleration point coming up on the 6th.
And if that should be a bigger top, I think we could go down at least until about the 19th, which I have a Mercury cycle, which is very powerful there, and that's lined up with also the new moon.
So if we do turn coming up here near the end of the week and we pull down, do you expect much volatility out of it going into, as you said, the 16th?
Well, that's one of the harder things to forecast, amplitude and volatility.
It is.
So usually if the market's going down, volatility usually increases, right?
Right. Well, what about this 9th? Because I got some other people that are coming out and on your calendar. And by the way, everybody, Norm publishes a calendar that you can look and get the entire month at a glance. But the 9th is another big day coming up on your calendar. What's going on with that?
Well, that's over the weekend. The stuff that's all the stuff, most of the stuff that I have listed there on the notes that I sent you are for after the close of Friday the 6th.
Right.
That all lands on the over the weekend, which means it could spill over into Monday's open.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
So whatever starts on Friday could culminate coming in on the 9th.
Right. It might top on Friday. It might top on Monday. It's one trading day difference. Right.
All right. But the next big cycle date for people to be aware of would be the 16th after this weekend. Is that what? That's what I'm getting to?
I'm targeting like around the 19th.
The 19th.
Right. That's when the new moon and Mercury gets to 0 latitude. That's an important cycle. So, and especially when they're together, like within a day,
All right, we've got about a minute and a half left, Norm, before we have to close. But on that note, is it just the stock market you think is going to get the biggest impact, or are there other markets or commodities?
Some of the other market that I featured in my notes are the opposite, is the grains. So, like for example, I sent you a chart for corn,
right,
which is scraping bottom.
It is
extreme low. It's approaching its cost of production, So
let me jump in there for a second, Norm, real quick, and I want everybody to know that you have a forecast for the entire year on corn that you put in here, and it's remarkably accurate with what you've done. We've got to close, Norm, but before we go, tell everybody how to get your newsletter, how to reach out to you.
All right, you can reach me. I'm in Florida Eastern Time at 239-594-3939. That's 239-594-3939. Or you can email me at nwinski@embark, is EMBARQMAIL.com, or you can call me on Skype at norm.winski.
And astro-trend.com for the website, right?
Right, except that's got the wrong email on it. That email works, but that's not my primary email. You want to Best email to catch me on is nwinski@embarkmail.com.
Got to go, Norm. Thanks for being a guest on the
Hey,
show.
thanks very much for having me on. I hope I can help some of your folks.
You can. I'll talk to you soon. All right, everybody. That was Norm Winski, Astro-Trend Now.